Hello folks, Why Guy here again. Welcome to my home on this very cold winter day. The name of this video is called The Why Guy Introduces the Evil One. This is another one of those titles and assumptions made by Christendom that is speaking of a devil-type character. So this is a continuation of that, folks. The King James Version uses the term evil one only once. Yet the New American Standard uses it 10 times. So which version am I to believe? You see? Furthermore, the NIV uses it 12 different passages. Yet the Revised uses it only 9 times. See, I could go on and on, proving how not one Bible version agrees with how many times the phrase evil one should be used, thus making it obvious to me that Scripture can agree on what is evil and who it is describing as the evil one. You following me on that kind of reasoning? So wouldn't it be wise to question why is it that most Christians, on the average, apply it to mean only one evil, supernatural enemy of God as the one responsible for all the crap we endure in this life? You ever wondered that? I could have chosen to address just that one time, okay? Just that one time that the King James Version used the phrase evil one and just be done with it. I could have done that. But instead, I want to use all 12 passages. Hopefully your eyes don't get glossed over. No, I'll keep it light, okay, and entertaining, and just give you the highlights, all right? I want all 12 passages to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the phrase evil one was never referring to an individual thought of as the devil, okay, but is always referring to anyone causing misery either to themselves or to others, okay? So bear with me here. So I'm going to share these 12 passages that were found in the New American Standard and the New International Version, and because they're pretty close. One had a few more times than the other, but you'll catch. I don't want to do every single version and every single passage and every single version. That would be horrible. Okay, that would be torturous. Anyway, I might add too that both of these versions I'm going to share these from are Latin-based versions, even though I know what it says in your preface. So anyway, let me go on to that just for a second. Let me digress just for a second. How do I know that they're Latin-based? Simple. The word hell is in them. Simple as that. And the English word hell comes from the Latin word infernum, and infernum is found 111 times in the Latin Vulgate, all referring to a torturous afterlife in an underworld ruled by the devil. So that's how I know that they're Latin-based Bibles. Okay? This is only one of many criteria that I use to judge whether the Bible version is Latin-based or not, regardless of what is written in the preface claiming it comes from the Greek manuscripts. Sure, most versions will erroneously claim they were translated from Greek manuscripts, yet few will use the Greek word Hades, but will primarily use the Latin word hell. Now explain that one to me then. If it comes from the Greek, then why don't you just only use Hades? Why do you throw hell in there? The Latin word hell, okay? So it's common sense on my part to expose how the publishers are lying, period. So anyway, let's get back to these 12 Latin-based passages. I mentioned the evil one found in the NSA and the NIV Bibles. So let me explain my process, how I want to present it to you here on this video. I'm going to read the verse to show how the ancient Latin church used the phrase evil one when translating it. Then I'm going to share how the phrase reads in the Koine Greek. That's all. I'm not going to read the whole verse over again, of course not. Again, not one time are any of them referring to a devil. You'll see. But before I do, let me give you a heads up. The word worthless is synonymous to the word wickedness in Koine Greek, and it is often used to replace the term evil one in these passages. Okay, so don't get bent out of shape when it refers to how some people are worthless. All right, because we're not in modern America here. All right, in these verses. Matthew 5:37 says, all you need to say is yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. So instead of evil one, the Greek reads as the midst of the bad condition. The midst of the bad condition. The Latins, let's make it into evil one. Catching the perversion, more perversion I should say. Matthew 6:13, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. No, Koine Greek says from the bad situation. Not an individual. Did you see how the Latins tried to make this out to be an individual? The evil one, rather than bad situation. Oh my goodness. Matthew 13:19. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one, comes and snatches away what has been sown in the heart. This is the one whose seed was sown beside the road. In the spot where it says evil one, it says in the Koine Greek, the worthless person or the disadvantaged circumstance. Again, let's change it from an individual. Let's make it into an individual. John 17:15, I do not ask you to take them out of the world, but to keep them from the evil one. No, in the Koine Greek it says worthless or bad situation. Ephesians 6:16, in addition to all, taking up the shield of faith, with which you may be able to extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. No, it just says worthless. All the arrows of just stuff that's worthless. That's all. Do you see the major perversion here? 2 Thessalonians 3:3, but the Lord is faithful and he will strengthen and protect you from the evil one. Believe it or not, this is talking about an evil one, but it can be anyone, because in the Greek it says the malicious person. Person, not a devil. 1 John 2:13-14, I am writing you, fathers, because you know him who has been from the beginning. I'm writing you, young men, because you have overcome the evil one. In the Koine Greek, it reads as, the one brings a gush of misery. The one who brings a gush of misery. Okay, I can see how that might be considered the evil one, but to call that and referring it to that as a devil is bullshit. Let me see. In the same verse of 1 John, it says, I have written to you, children, because you know the Father. I have written to you, fathers, because you know him who has been from the beginning. I have written to you, young men, because you are strong, and the word of God abides in you, and you have overcome the evil one. Again, this one is translated properly as the one who brings a gush of misery. 1 John 5:18-19, we know that no one who is born of God sins, but he who was born of God keeps him, and the evil one does not touch him. Koine Greek says the fellow who causes misery. All it says. Verse 19 of the same passage, we know that we are of God and that the whole world lies in the power of the evil one. It's supposed to be within the gush of misery. You know, see how they did this? They changed a circumstance into a single individual. I hope you're following me on this, because they're all consistent. They all consistently change, like I just said, a circumstance into a single individual. Gosh, so perverted. But anyway, this very last one, I'm coming to last here. I chose this for a specific reason, the last one. 1 John 3:11-12. This is the message which you heard from the beginning, to the end that we may habitually love one another. Not like Cain, who was of the evil one, and slew his brother. And for what reason did he slay him? Because his deeds were evil and his brothers were righteous. This explains it all, folks. It really does. The Greek reads, not living like Cain, he was existing and continued being from out of the condition. That's what it says. Continued being out of the condition, causing misery and hard labor. So Cain was of the evil one? You know, this can be taken both literally as of Adam, or you can understand it as figuratively speaking, representing who knows what. However, ancient writers would always point at a son and say, you are of, always meaning their birth father. That's how they traditionally wrote. Also, the phrase, and continued being from out of the condition in the Greek, for the purpose of asking my viewers to consider what I think that could possibly mean. Some will say it simply means that Cain continued to live after killing his brother. And if it ended there, I would agree with people who had that assessment. However, the verse continued with the odd phrase of out of the condition. Out of what condition? People have got to understand that there is no ancient word for ego. Okay? Yet I believe, now this is what I wrote about in my book, No Love, No Fear. Okay? I believe that Adam created the condition. His ego that caused what Cain did to his brother. If it wasn't for Cain's ego, let's use some common sense. If it wasn't for his ego, he would have never been jealous of Abel, which we know resulted in a murder. Furthermore, when the passage states that he was existing and continued being, I believe that he, the word he, was referring to the ego that came from a continuous condition, folks, that we're all dealing with right now. All of us are. Consider reviewing these other 11 passages. I gave you the addresses, okay? Consider reviewing them again. And you'll see that not once was the description of evil one mentioned. If you happen to have a Greek Bible, you'll see. However, whenever worthless, the words worthless, malicious, bad situation, or misery was mentioned, it's referring to the deeds of a person or the power of what causes those deeds. And in closing this video, I don't mean to keep beating a dead horse, but what is the power that causes all the mayhem and sin in this frickin' world? Answer: a selfish will that is powered by pride. And pride is powered by the ego. Do you see it? That's all these verses are talking about. Every one of them. So stop copping out and blaming the devil or a devil. It's ridiculous. It wasn't the act of eating the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil that was as bad as what motivated Adam to do it in the first place. His pride, folks. His pride. And that's, yes, conjecture on my part. But it seems to play out in all mankind. We're all the same. We're all sons of Adam. And we're all playing it all out every day of our lives in this world. So that's what I based my assumption on, is evidence. Well, anyhow, consider looking me up on Facebook under a group called the Y Guy Group. And you know the rest of the spiel. And my avatar name of Jonathan Jones. And subscribe if you haven't already. And give me a thumbs up, please. Or a thumbs down. Because I don't want you to give me a thumbs up if you totally disagree with me. Okay, I really don't. That's dishonesty on your part. Be true to yourself, okay? And but if you are going to explain your thumbs down, be polite about it, so we can have a civil conversation. And otherwise, I'll just delete it. No big deal. I don't all the time. I sometimes like to get into it with people because it can be fun. But anyway, that's my pride dealing with sometimes, okay? And my ego. Well, anyhow, folks, I do thank you for viewing, and I'm going to leave a link to my website, as well as to Coffee and Patreon for those who want to support this video in that way, and as well as the 3 books that I've got published on Amazon. I'll leave links to those 3 as well. Thank you for viewing.